I honestly don't even know where to begin. Okay. I'm trying to remain calm and it's making me dissociate, but I'm sorry. We have to address this. I kind of knew that when I mentioned Ahmaud Arbery in my last video that this would be the next video I made. And because of that, I've been procrastinating. The level of racism, overt racism, in America is absolutely disgusting. This is coming from a South African, and as a South African, I've known many people who lived here or were born here who either visited or lived in the US and have reported back that they have never been anywhere more racist than America. And if South Africans, who are keenly aware of our very, very racist history, are telling me and everyone that America is the most racist place, overtly and covertly, that they've ever been, there's a problem. The reason I started this video with that bit of anecdotal information is because for some reason, a lot of Americans don't seem to realize how racist their country and they are. This is a huge issue in America. America is not the land of the free. America is the land of the racists. And as a South African, saying that, that's gotta be a little scary, right? And I just don't understand how many more people have to die. How many more innocent, young people of color have to die or be imprisoned in actual concentration camps by your president for America to see the huge issue that they have. I don't understand it. I don't comprehend it. I don't even understand when other white South Africans can't see their racist tendencies. So the fact that some Americans are completely in fantasy land and think that they live in the land of the free and think that there's no issue there completely blows my mind. I don't understand how you can live that way and not be critical of yourself. Be critical of yourself and who you keep around you, the things you say, the things you do, the things you think. How can you not be critical of them and realize that they're damaging and that they're harmful? I don't understand it. For those of you who were unaware, for those of you who don't keep up to date with American news and American politics, within the last year, within 2020, 2 beautiful young people were murdered senselessly in America. And the only reason that there is anything being done about either of them is because the public saw it. Not because the police thought, hey, someone was murdered, so we should probably seek justice for them. No, it's because videos were leaked or information was leaked months later, and the public was like, hey, what the hell? Maybe arrest the people who murdered someone. I'm going to start with the case I didn't mention in my last video, and that is the case of Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was a beautiful, kind, hard-working, patient woman, a certified EMT who was working 2 jobs during this pandemic to try and help her country through. And she was shot at least 8 times when the police executed a search warrant in her apartment. 3 police officers in casual clothing with no body cams, no wires, nothing, said that they announced themselves and used a battering ram to break into the apartment. They had a warrant to search for drugs, and the warrant they had was a no-knock warrant, which is a whole other issue in and of itself, and we see some of the issues in it in this case. Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend who lived with her at the time, Kenneth Walker, woke up with a start, believing that their house was being broken into, and that their safe place was no longer safe. Mr. Walker grabbed his firearm, and when asking the police who they were, they didn't respond. So when they broke through the door, he shot. He fired 1 gunshot, and it hit an officer in the leg. He wasn't even firing to kill. In response to this single gunshot from a man who was terrified that his home was being broken into, the police shot off at least 20 rounds wildly. There's been some speculation on the amount of bullets that were fired by the police, but it's anywhere between 20 to 25, or maybe even more. When the scene was investigated, there were 20 bullet holes that they could identify in the Taylor Walker home. Some of the bullets even went through into the neighboring apartment where a 5-year-old was asleep. Kenneth Walker is now facing charges of attempted murder of a police officer. The reason that the police were investigating Breonna Taylor's household is because they had a warrant to search for drugs, and they believed that their suspect was living there. However, the police had already not only had the suspect in custody before the warrant was executed, they knew that his official residence was more than 10 miles away from the Taylor Walker apartment. According to my research, at least one of the policemen involved has a history of excessive force and corruption within his employment. There's a lot to unpack with the Breonna Taylor case. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked. Like, why did they fire like the Wild Wild West? Why did they not answer Kenneth Walker when he asked who they were? Why did they fire maybe up to 25 rounds, but at least 20 rounds in response to a man shooting towards the ground, or at least towards the lower part of a body, who thought his home was being broken into? Why is that man now facing charges for attempted homicide of a police officer? Why did they decide that the suspect had anything to do with this address when he didn't? I saw some articles that said that the suspect in question was Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend, but I found nothing to confirm it. So, however, despite all the questions that there are with that case, it's not necessarily a clear, cut and dry hate crime. And it's not necessarily a clear, cut and dry racial bias. However, the second case, which I did mention in my last video, I believe very much is. If you're on YouTube and you're on commentary channels, hell, if you are on the internet, you probably know about Ahmaud Arbery. He was a 25-year-old black man who had gone for a jog and was shot to death by 2 civilians. He was shot to death in broad daylight as he took a jog, unarmed. This murder was executed by a father and son, the McMichaels, who, for some reason, took it upon themselves to make a citizen's arrest with Arbery because they were convinced that he was a suspect in a string of break-ins that weren't really happening. They were happening, but they weren't really happening, and I'll explain it. In the McMichaels neighborhood, there was a house that was currently being built for a man who planned to retire on a waterside property, hoping to have a place where he could go fishing and just relax on his little boat and live out the rest of his days in a peaceful community. Now, as humans are naturally curious in nature, when a new house is being built in a neighborhood, people will be curious and will probably go and check out what is happening and how the house is being laid out and how far they've come since they've last seen it. And especially if the property is unarmed, people may walk in and take a look at the progress. And this was clearly the case with this house, which had video surveillance at all times. The homeowner has released various clips not only showing Ahmaud Arbery going in to see the house and leaving with nothing each time, but also showing other people going to see the house, including children and a white couple. The owner himself has said that he thinks that people had no ill intentions, especially since nothing was ever stolen from that property. He thinks that they were curious, and in Arbery's case, especially as a jogger, that he was probably looking for a water source, as there were 2, one in the front of the property and one in the back of the property. The homeowner has also confirmed that he has never reported any of these break-ins, which technically are trespassing, but again, we understand human nature is curious and nothing was ever taken, so I think the homeowner was okay with people being curious. He confirmed that he never reported any of these break-ins, and he never, certainly never, asked the McMichaels for help in keeping people off the property. On the day that Arbery was murdered, he went into the house to have a look again, or to get water, we're not entirely sure, because there were water sources. He went in to the property again, didn't leave with anything, he didn't take anything, he was just having a look around and probably getting some water, and then he continued his jog. The same day, a white couple also did the same thing, and they're still alive today. So Ahmaud Arbery checks out this house, maybe gets some water, and then continues his jog, something he's been doing for a while with the construction site, as there are videos to prove it, and honestly, it's expected. Once again, humans are naturally curious. He continues his jog, and there's a video of what happens after Arbery leaves the house. I'm not going to put it in this video because it was very hard to watch. If you want to see it, I will link it in my sources. However, I'm just going to tell you what happened. Arbery leaves the house, and as he continues his jog, he is stopped by the McMichael's truck. He, being a civilized person and understanding that there's a car in his way and he can't exactly run through it, he tries to run around it and continue on his day because he didn't do anything, so he didn't expect anyone to be threatening his life. However, the son of the McMichaels stop him by pointing a gun at him. The father is on the truck pointing a gun at him. Ahmaud Arbery, unarmed and having a gun pointed at him, 2 guns pointed at him, one in very close range, is obviously fearful for his life and fearful of getting shot. So he grabs the gun to try and get it out of, I think his name is Travis McMichael, the son's hands, tries to get the gun out of his hands because obviously he's being threatened with a firearm, and most people wouldn't really think of anything else to protect themselves if they are unarmed other than grabbing the gun and trying to point it away from them because we don't want to get shot. Arbery does this, and a shot goes off. And another shot goes off. And another shot goes off. And we can't tell where the shots are coming from exactly in the video, but regardless of where they came from, Ahmaud Arbery died. He was going for a jog, and now he's dead. And I don't care what any of the apologists are saying, he is dead because he was a black man. And he was living in America. I don't care what the apologists are saying, this was a public lynching, a modern day lynching, of a man who was just going for a run and who was curious, just like the kids were, just like an old white couple were. I'm trying not to get emotional, I'm trying not to get angry, I'm trying not to shout and yell and scream at the McMichaels especially, but at America in general, because so many people are somehow on their side in this, and somehow think that they are justified for murdering this sweet man who was just around the corner from his 26th birthday, and they're arguing that he has a criminal record. But I personally don't give a fuck about his criminal history, because that's not why he was murdered. He was murdered while he was jogging. He was murdered while he was jogging as a black man. He was not murdered while doing anything illegal. On top of all that, I am absolutely disgusted with the justice system, in America as a whole, but especially here. Because the McMichaels were not arrested for months. And it's very, very obvious that the only reason they ever were arrested is because that video of a sweet man, an innocent black man, being murdered in broad daylight was released to the public, and the public outcry was huge. And that is the only reason the McMichaels were arrested. No one can convince me otherwise. Because if the police were going to arrest them in this situation anyway, they would have done it already. It had been months. And it only happened when the public saw that video. When the public had to watch a man being murdered. Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor deserved better than America. They deserved better than this world. And they deserve better than the racist apologists who are letting white people get away with public hate crimes. And I'm so thankful, so thankful for Benjamin Crump, who is the attorney for both the Taylor family and the Arbery family in this horrible, horrible situation. Thank you so much for seeking justice for these people. To the family and friends of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that your loved ones have been added to the list of people we have lost due to pure hatred, pure bigotry. I am so sorry that they had to die for people to start talking about this again, and for the media to start covering it again. I am so sorry that you've lost someone so senselessly. To people of color in America in general, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you can live there. You are so brave and you are so strong for living through every single day there. I can't imagine. I can never imagine. Nothing I have experienced in my life will ever give me that kind of understanding for what you go through there. I'm so sorry that you feel so unsafe, and that you're made to feel so unsafe and unsteady in a place where you live, where you go to school and where you work. I am so sorry. To Americans and white people in general, do better. Be better. That's all I wanted to say. I hope that me making this video wasn't wrong. I hope that I didn't do or say anything that adds harm. I know I only have a limited amount of life experience, and I understand that I could very easily be doing or saying something harmful at any point. And if I do ever, in this video, in other videos, please let me know. Please. I want to be better. Anyway, that was it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.